Today we are going to be making Finn's Scarlet sword from Adventure Time.
Yeah! You never fought them? They come out every day at 4 o'clock on the dot. You should stay, man. At 5 o'clock every day, I chop both their heads off, and they grow on...
I'll see you later, buddy.
Bye! Yeah!
So, I'm cutting the fiberglass rod to, I believe, 3 feet. Like I said, all these measurements are rough because you're doing it off a cartoon, so I can't give specific measurements. But these are two 1-inch strips that are around maybe 27 inches long, I think. But anyways, yeah, they need to be 1 inch wide, and so I'm making 2 of those, and I'm using 5mm foam. So altogether, you got to cut out 4 1-inch strips of 5mm foam. So I glued together both the 5mm pieces to stack it up to the thickness of the fiberglass rod, and then I take a piece of 2mm foam to skin the outer layer of the sword. Here I was attempting to add like filler strips of foam to keep the 2mm from caving in where the foam is a little bit thicker than the fiberglass rod, but ultimately it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so I just filled in the gaps with hot glue and then took an old box cutter blade and smoothed it down to where it was flat. And then I take another piece of 2mm foam to go ahead and put the outer layer on this side of the blade. I had to cut the 2mm into 2 different strips for each side because I didn't have a piece long enough to cover the entire blade. And okay, so I decided I want the sword to be 2 inches wide. That's just like the measurement that I thought looked the best. So after I did that, I just found my center line and trimmed it to the size that I wanted. And then right here I'm just trimming up the edges to make them flat and smooth for when I go to add the point to it. And so now I'm deciding where my tip is. I think I did 1 inch from the tip, and that's where I decided to put the point, and so I just take the box cutter and cut that as well. Make sure your blade is good and sharp, by the way, because the sharper your blade, the better the cut will be and the less work you have to do later. Okay, so right here I'm taking my box cutter and I trim up the edge a little bit. That way then afterwards I can come in with the Dremel and smooth it all out to get it to a nice, clean, sharp-edged finish. This takes a pretty long time, by the way, but just take your time and it'll look good in the end. Sanding alone is 90% of prop making. Okay, so right here I'm just adding the battle damage, cutting out the little gaps that are in the blade that you see in the show, and I didn't record it, but I also did the, I took a wood burner and burned in the, like the cut marks on the sword, like where another sword would have hit it, where there's like little cuts and gashes that you can see on the show. I just did those with a wood burner, and right here I'm making the crossguard piece. All I did for here is I took 3 pieces of EVA foam, glued them together with a small hole in between for the fiberglass rod, and then sanded it down to a tapered shape on the edge, if you can see there. And then afterwards, after I got it sanded down to the way I liked it, I just wrapped 2mm foam all around it to give it a more uniform look, and so that when I sand down the edges it can look like one solid piece. Okay, so right here what I'm doing is I'm taking that pencil and I'm poking a hole in the foam circles, which I cut out with a piece of PVC. Anyways, you take the foam circles and you take the pencil and you poke a little hole and then you just put them on the fiberglass rod. I cut out my handle with PVC, and now I'm just taking that and putting it onto the PVC pipe. The pipe is a little bit smaller than the foam circles, so it gives it a really snug, sturdy fit. Lastly, all you have to do is make the pommel. I don't have footage of that because I guess my camera chose not to record it, but all it is 2 layers of 10mm or the floor mat foam and 2 layers of 5mm foam all glued together, and then with a 2mm strip around the edge that hide all the layers. That, and then you just pour hot glue into, well, with the 5mm piece, you cut out a hole in the center of it. That way when you put it down, you have a little recessed area, and then you just fill that up with hot glue to make it look like a gem in a way. And then after that, I took my spackling. As you can see, I have this quick seal there too. It turned into liquid for some reason, so I couldn't use it, so it gave me a chance to try out my spackling. And I must say, I actually enjoy the spackling. It's actually a really nice material to work with. And what I like about it is, it's a little more rigid than quick seal, I believe. So you can leave it on a little bit thicker, and you're able to sand it down pretty nicely. I do like the spackle. It turned out pretty good, I think. And after you do that, once you get it all smooth down the way you like and got all the gaps filled, I took some Mod Podge and I started painting on some layers of Mod Podge to seal the foam, get it ready for paint. I only did 2 layers simply because I didn't have enough Mod Podge. All I had was that little bottle and I ran out. But ideally you would want to do maybe 3 to 4 layers of the Mod Podge to get it really good and ready for paint. Okay, so I'll start off with laying down some gold paint, 1 layer at a time, and just keep adding layers until you get it to the color you want. Also, you paint the handle black here. But before you paint the PVC handle, it helps if you sand down the handle a little bit to give the paint something to grip to. And then, I don't show it, I don't think. I'm not sure if I recorded this or not, but the little spot where we put hot glue, the gem, you just paint it red. So after you paint the handle, the gem, and the blade, that's pretty much it. Okay, and now we're at the final step. So I just took a scrap piece of 2mm foam and painted it gray because that's what it looked like from the images I was using, and I started wrapping it around the handle. I tried to match the 2D image of the cartoon, but the 2D doesn't really blend well with the 3-dimensional object, so I just wrapped it I just tried to wrap it a little. I tried to wrap it like not so perfectly so it looked a little bit more like the show, but you wrap that and then you're pretty much done. And that's how you build Finn's Scarlet sword from Adventure Time. This was a really fun build, and I built this and I believe it was a day. Yeah, this only took a day to build and paint. So thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.